Hi, Diana. Hi, everybody else. I've got a funny voice. I do not have a black eye. This is the remnants of my Halloween makeup. It was a web, and yeah, there's wild green hair. There's a cat behind me who's going now. There's a dog beside me. Hi, I'm Sarah. How are you? Yeah, so I'm a bit of a mess now. I need to go have a shower, but I thought I will do this first and then I will go have a shower. But yeah. Hey Dom, nice to see you again. How's everybody else going? I hope you guys are good. It's been a pretty exhausting day over here with Halloween. So anyway, I've pre-recorded a little bit of information, just my ramblings about the bridge guy video that I'm going to show now. And then we're going to watch a ridiculous video of me walking around a trail park near me, trying to figure out the angle that Libby's holding the phone. And I've just been trying to upload all of that and realized how useless a lot of it is. But we can watch it. If you guys want to watch me try to do a very unscientific science experiment, you're welcome to do that. Anyway, I'll pop the first video on. We're going to go slow-mo through the bridge guy video with my commentary and my analysis of it. Can everyone hear me okay? Just checking. I'm assuming you can, because otherwise you would tell me if I was muted, right? But just for the record, I'm going to need to put a pinned comment. This is not a black eye. This is a web. You just probably can't tell because I've got a terrible camera. All right, guys. I know there's not many people here, but thank you for joining. Oops. Okay. I'm going to add it to the stage and take myself off. Hi everyone, welcome back. We are back with the bridge guy video again today. We're going to look at a slow-mo of the video. We're going to pause it at various frames, try and understand the angle at which the phone was being held at various points to get a bit of an idea of maybe a behavioral timeline of what's going on in the video. It is only 43 seconds, but I think that 43 seconds has such a wealth of information that we can explore. I also want to talk a little bit more about my conviction that the girls are actually scared in the video and that Libby is recording covertly. So we're going to kind of put the two things into this video and end with my theory of the bridge guy video, which I have mentioned now a few times, but I refine it each time. So stick with me if you're interested in chatting about the bridge guy video. This is pre-recorded because it's going to help me stay on track, but I will play it as a live and be with you guys in the chat so we can have a good discussion about what you guys think as well. So bear with me. I'm going to pull it up and we're going to go at 0.25 speed, and then we're going to pause at areas that I think are important. Okay, we've got the intro a bit out of sync there, but I'm glad that we still had it there. Hope that wasn't two intros, though. You know I'm not the best with tech, so apologies for that. Okay, let's get to the bridge guy video. Now, if we notice that first 4 seconds, we can see the phone panning upwards like this. Now, to me, that is not a normal kind of movement that you would do if you're just trying to record a friend. I've got my phone here. It doesn't take 4 seconds to pull the phone up to take a picture, right? So this suggests that covertness. So again, we've unlocked the camera app. She's holding it perhaps in her sleeve. So I'm wearing sleeves today. It's a cold day today. After a lovely warm week, it's cold. So let's just imagine she's using the back camera. So to me, it's this. Now, she potentially has it even more hidden. I'm going to guess that the iPhone 6S didn't have the 3 camera lens. It doesn't. It has 1 lens in the corner. So I checked that out after this. So yeah, past Amy, who doesn't have wild green hair. It only has the 1 camera, not like my Samsung. I got a crappy Samsung phone at the moment. I love Samsung, but this one's my A something because I smashed too many phones. Lenses, I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I think she'd be doing this with the baggy sweatshirt. And in order to get that angle, it's sort of a bit awkward, but I guess it could be like, holding your hoodie straps. It could be like going like this, like something like this. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how you'd naturally kind of hold it because it definitely seems like it's at that angle as opposed to being held down. Now, I think there's been some speculation as to whether the video was upside down. We don't know if this is the edited or stabilized version or not. I suppose if it was being held upside down, then the camera would be, if the image was upside down, then the camera could be being held like that, which means it could be down in a sleeve hanging down beside her. It can't be in a sleeve hanging down beside her, I don't think. I talk about that later when you watch me doing my field studies. If it was in her sleeve hanging down, you wouldn't get so much of the ground view. That would be a very strange, awkward position. So it most certainly has to be like this, because if it was down like this, then how on earth is she getting the ground? Like, that's very awkward. That's not covert. That's not a normal way to hold a phone either. So it definitely has to be being held like this, if you ask me. But let me know if you think it's different. I'm not sure. We're going to have a look at what AI thinks the angles are at various points. And I'm going to put some of those clips in here too, so that we can understand, what angle is the phone at this particular point. So I'm actually going to do it right now. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to go to AI and let's see what AI thinks around where the phone is being held at this point. So the way that I do this is I take a screenshot or a screen grab, or use one of the frames of the Bridge Guy video, and I enter it into AI and ask the question basically about where the phone's being held, what angle, how high from the ground. So I'm doing that as I record this. So we'll do it in real time. Now, of course, I always recognize that ChatGPT is not the be all and end all. It's not going to always give us the most accurate information, and it often just agrees with what you want it to do. No offense, ChatGPT, but it definitely tells me every one of my ideas is clever. And unless I'm just super clever, I think ChatGPT is a bit biased at times. But let's try it out. So I've just entered that in, and I'm going to read this out loud. So it says the photo appears to have been taken roughly from chest to shoulder height, approximately 4.5 to 5 feet, 135 to 150 centimeters above the ground. So the information that I gave it was that it's the back camera of an iPhone 6S, and that the girl in the frame is 5'4" tall, and that the girl taking the picture is 5'4" tall. I think it would probably have helped if I had also explain the distance between the girls, the girl taking the photo and the girl in the photo. But regardless, it says visual analysis. The girl, 5'4", is framed from head to foot with the camera angled slightly downwards towards the bridge planks in the foreground. The horizon line. Start that again. The horizon line, where the bridge meets the trees in the distance, sits around the top third of the image, a typical composition when a phone is held at chest or face height, rather than at hip or waist level. The vertical convergence of the bridge rails, leading lines meeting near her upper body, suggests the photographer's perspective is close to her eye level, not looking steeply up or down. So an iPhone 6S back camera has a wide angle lens which exaggerates depth slightly. That means even when held at chest level, it can make the perspective appear a little lower than it actually is. So visually, it may look like it's shot from 4 foot, but the actual physical height of the phone is probably closer to 4.5 or 5 feet. So I'm guessing then if the phone's height, so if Lib is about 5'4", so we're then looking at it, it's saying estimated phone height's about 4.7 feet. So we're looking at it being, I think, around here. So if she's holding this phone and she's doing it covertly in the sleeve, I suppose, I'm guessing it's sort of like this, right? Which I think, I mean, it looks ridiculous when I'm doing it. I've also got a light colored phone. I've got a thinner sleeve and I've got multiple lenses. If we were just doing the top lens, you can see, I mean, she could also have, no, she wouldn't have had the hair over it. There's nothing that could be hiding the lens because we don't see anything obscuring it. But anyway, I guess, I mean, that's not that unnatural a position to stand. Like she could have the other arm underneath. I can't get the full camera here, but you know what I mean. She could be pulling on her hair, could be like this, so it looks like she's twiddling her hair. She's quite steady at points, so let's watch the next bit. Let's see what we think. I'm actually going to go back a bit. So we can see it's not that steady as she goes up, and even as she's holding it on Abby, it's not super steady. So that could go with it being like she's sort of holding her hair or she's sort of moving a bit. She's not holding it completely firm like this. Now she is. So at this point, again, we would imagine it's like this. Now I'm not hiding it because you guys get the point. And then it pans like this, and it looks as though she turns around. So essentially she's doing it like this with her sleeve showing on the side, and the camera is sort of peeking out around the side. So I'm not turning around fully because I'm sitting down, but that's what she's doing. She's walking away. Now, if we go back to, I'm going to pause with the shadow. We've talked about the shadow before, but it seems as though, I just missed it again. I could use the frames, but it takes a while to open all the single frames. So that's why I thought I'd just use the video in slow motion. So here we go. It looks as though in that shadow that she's now holding the phone out a little bit. It looks like the shape. Does that look like the shape of the phone rather than just the sleeve there? And it looks, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she's going to the side, so I suppose it could be still like this, right? Because you can see almost the kind of squareness there that looks to me like the phone. So this is where she's turned around. She's walking the other way. She's holding it up around here. So same height, really. So my theory before was, you know, is she saying now to the phone as though she's on FaceTime? But it could be that it's still just covert and that's how she's holding the phone then, I suppose. So let's watch the next bit. So just after that shadow, we see, you know, she pans forward again. So the shadow seems to almost be like that. And then she's panning forward and she's walking and she's saying, so this is the path. So, I mean, it may be that this is still concealed, or it may be that it comes out and she is attempting to pretend she's talking to someone on the phone. So my theory around her talking to someone on the phone is that that's a sort of instinctual protective response of like, don't worry, I'm talking to someone. Don't you dare do anything to me, essentially. Like, no, someone knows where I am. This is where I'm going. So it could potentially be, so this is the path that we're going down, right? Or that we go down. And so it looks a little bit like, to me, somebody who would be doing that is like, I'm talking to someone knows where I am. So it could be that, or it could still be concealed at this point. And then she's still panning around, showing this is the path that we go down, perhaps as capturing evidence. It could be both, could be either. I'm not sure. Let's keep watching. Now notice she sort of turns a little bit out towards that way, which is actually where there's that embankment and that sort of slide path that we see a bit later on. Here it is. So here, this here looks like a worn path that you could slide down, right? This is, I think, what's described by, goodness, Jean Collar, which interestingly, you do notice when you look at this video, is already there before the girls have gone down the hill. So yeah, possible, I think, that that's actually what she's pointing to. This is the path that we go down. Now, I suppose if you're recording something to potentially send to someone to rescue you when you're scared and you're lost or whatever, you're not going to be able to describe it so well. You know, she's not going to say, well, it's the south end, you go down to the left just after the, you know, the sandstone block or something. So potentially this is just her covertly recording for somebody. I suppose the fact is she's not whispering though. She says it not loud, but certainly not super quiet given where Bridge Guy is. So it could be either, but it makes sense because, gosh, when I'm trying to give directions and explain things, it's impossible. Most of us these days, I'm sure, drop a pin at our location because trying to explain this stuff is really hard. And so I wonder if that's Libby's thought process. Whatever Libby's thought process is in this, she is such a bright girl and she thinks on her feet. So now she's turning back. You can see, again, she's now going to the side and she's head on. You can see from the shadow. I'm pointing at the screen. You can't see me pointing. So there's the shadow here. So she's pointing dead on in this point. And I think she's turning back around and waiting for Abby. Now, again, if she's pointing forward like this, and she doesn't totally turn around to look at Libby, to look at Abby, I don't think. I wonder again whether this is still covert then, because she doesn't want Bridge Guy to see her recording. But let's have a look. Yeah, so she doesn't turn to Abby. She stands still and Abby starts running past. So she doesn't go, hey, you know, she doesn't actually look at her. So she's clearly holding it still at this angle. It's fairly, I believe, again, it's still, we could check again with ChatGPT, but I believe it's still around the same height based on what we see of Abby's leg. We can see the top part of her thigh and her knee and her shoe. So given the girls are a similar height, I think, and this is obviously coming from above, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. And how high above, again, we could ask, but I think, oh, okay, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. We're doing a full analysis here. So I'm going to take a picture of it because I'm just lazy to do a trim of the screen. I will just do a screenshot on my phone. Okay. Right. ChatGPT, my best friend. I'm making you sit through me do this now. Last time I paused, which was a bit more polite, but you know what? This is going to be quicker. So what about now? This is the other girl's leg. Okay, right. Let's see what it says. So based on this frame, the camera appears to be held quite low, around hip to mid-thigh high, roughly 2.5 to 3.5 feet now. Okay. And it says because the foot and the lower leg are clearly in the frame. It's angled down steeply and relatively close to the subject's leg. Okay. So it's suggesting that it's a sharp downward tilt and it's lower. Well, that would make sense, I suppose, because if she's now got this here like this and she's putting the phone kind of downwards, and again, you can't see my full body here. It would be much better if you could because it would be easier to explain. But I suppose if she's holding it and the arm is sort of dropping down more, or like, you know, just beside her, that would make sense. So I think that the phone is being held at maybe this angle more there because you can really just see shadow and ground, no horizon. So it's not being held at that angle anymore. It's more at this angle. And it's suggesting it's a bit lower, so maybe around waist height, which means she's no longer doing this as she was before. It's dropped down a little bit. However, here we see the upper portion of Abby's body. So to me, that suggests that the phone is still up quite high, right? It couldn't be waist height unless it pans up. Let's have a look again. Okay, so there we're probably at that sort of an angle because we're getting ahead of the shadow ahead of her, I suppose. And then, right, so we can see she's getting from, above waist height of Abby as Abby's running past. So I think it would have to be around this high still. I don't think it's as low as ChatGPT is saying. It may not be at shoulder height anymore, but it's certainly still high enough because it's getting quite a lot of Abby's body in. So you can see she's, actually, I didn't actually look at the angle as Abby ran past. This is painstaking, and I hope you guys don't mind that I'm doing this so slowly, but of course you don't, because you don't have to watch, I suppose. But this is how I kind of try to make sense of it, and I've done this so many times now, and I still haven't made sense of it fully. Okay, so she's forward. And then she's sort of scanning with Abby. Yes, of course, that's what it looks like. And then she scans with Abby. She's turning and she's walking towards, or turning towards where Abby is. Notice how still, though, there is nothing on the screen that makes sense. So clearly it's not something she's watching. She's literally just kind of doing that. So I do think it's under the sleeve because she's not looking at the screen from the looks of it. And that makes sense because she wouldn't want to look at the screen because she doesn't want the screen to be visible that she's recording. So now she sort of pans back again that way. So it's almost like, and I would be curious to know the height change there. It's hard to know, but she's sort of there and you can see the shadow. I think this is Abby standing here. So she's kind of facing back to her. Taking a couple of steps closer. Now she's looking at Abby and she's got her back turned to Bridge Guy. So when she says there's no path down there, so we'll have to go down here, I wonder what sort of nonverbal cues she's offering Abby in those moments to try and help Abby know what the next plan is of how they're going to deal with this situation. And you notice she's turning again to that embankment area. Is that what you call it? I don't know, but the area where they would slide down the hill. Now she's sort of panning to that area and sort of panning a tiny bit back. So it kind of suggests that she's maybe like this, like, because she's kind of gesturing over there and then she's coming back. It's interesting because there's not much going on. It's like she's standing there sort of for 2 seconds with a slight tilting and you don't hear Abby moving at all. I wonder if this is this point at which maybe there's, again, some sort of nonverbal communication, maybe some mouthing of words. Who knows? It's hard to, I mean, we don't hear anything, but that doesn't mean that she couldn't be saying, you know, something like that. Okay, so now we see her turning. And of course, I was going to say slowly, but this is on slow. This is pretty quick. We'll watch the full speed in a minute. And she's turning back again to this worn kind of path area. Not path, but you know what I mean. Now, again, when you watch it in slow-mo, you can see how much it's sort of shaking around. And to me, again, that's an indicator that she's not focusing the camera specifically, that, again, she's covertly recording from her sleeve, most likely. Now, at this point, it looks like she starts to turn. So, again, I'm not sure the exact angle and height here, but it's like the phone's like this and she's like going like this. She's sort of turning her body towards Bridge Guy, who's coming off the bridge at this point, I believe. So you notice she actually goes quite quickly. She turns and it gets her attention. So it seems like at this point, it's like the camera's going like this and then like this. I'm just trying to think of the gesture. Again, it could be back to her hair or something. I don't know, but it definitely goes up at that point. Okay, so we've got Abby now standing in front of her. So I think people have said this before. It's as though Libby's shielding Abby to some extent. So Abby's in front of her to the right. Libby's here in between and Bridge Guy's over there. And the camera, I think it's like going like this. I wonder what she's doing. Is she playing? Is she got her hood on maybe actually as well? I was just thinking that because in that shadow, it does look almost like she might have her hood on. I think someone else has mentioned that. So yeah, she could be like playing with her hood actually. That's another possibility there. I do think it's in the sleeve though, given that it moves angle rather than sort of putting it there and doing that, which that wouldn't make as much sense because you would potentially drop it that way. Now you see Abby's hand go up. It's like she's bracing. Now let's just go back a tiny bit because I just want to see if the camera, it looks like the camera sort of stays more down. Okay, so notice down and notice Abby's foot. It's already moving. It's already moving there. So let's go back again. Okay, that's down. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's at 41 seconds. It's down and her foot is already moving. Let's go back over it one more time. Guys, my goodness, when you see Abby's little hand like crunch up, it's so, so sad. Poor little thing. Like it just makes me feel really, 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 really sad. I definitely think you can see that flinch. And somebody else mentioned that, and I think that was super useful because I hadn't seen it as much until I slowed it down. Okay, wait a minute. That wasn't as good that time. Down the hill went a bit quicker. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong there, but let's just check one more time. Is that foot moving? Oh, it's too. This thing's coming up in the way for me. Let's just check. Regardless, her foot's moving as he's saying the hill. So I feel like she's moving too quickly for it to be a direct response to his command. And the reason I'd suggested this even before seeing the foot moving, before he finishes saying it, is because when you're in a fear situation and somebody makes a demand, there would still be some hesitation. And here we see no hesitation whatsoever. So I'm not suggesting they would fight and say, no, we're not going to do it. But you're kind of frozen. You don't just straight away jump to action. I don't think. That's just not my sense of it. I think that it'd be more likely they'd be frozen and then he might even have to repeat it, or at the very least, there'd be more than a split second in between you actually starting to move in that direction. That's my sense anyway. Let's watch it one more time from that part. So you can see that Libby, I keep muddling the girls up, and I'm sorry, girls. Like, I really want it to be important that we focus on each of those girls as their own beautiful individuals. But I think Libby, you can see as she says hi, there's again a little bit of a movement in her body, which makes sense. She's angling towards him a bit. Hi, and you can see Abby's arm go out. So again, some people have suggested that could be when she sees the gun. She sort of flails a little bit. It's possible if there is a gun. I definitely see her arm moving in and her foot going up slightly in that moment. So it definitely seems as though she's moved, as he said, down, as he hasn't even got to the end of saying down. So is that consistent with her hearing down and literally already moving down the hill, or is there some sort of gesture or movement between the girls that's like, I definitely see that other possibility there, though. I think Zara sort of said if she's flinching and she's sort of like trying to get away. So it could be maybe the movement to kind of get away as opposed to go down the hill. But I think when I look at it, I feel as though she goes forward as if to go down the hill straight away. And we'll get to a bit later, but I think Libby does the same. So I just feel like the girls had a plan to go down the hill, that they'd sort of non-verbally communicated, and obviously Libby had communicated by saying there's no path there, we have to go this way. I feel like they saw that as the quickest exit point. She keeps pointing towards that worn down kind of area where people slide down. And I've seen Julie Melvin do this in um, her recreation of the girls' steps back from 2017. It was just literally weeks after. And there's that worn out down area, the same that we see in Libby's video. So it's not from the crime itself. And I feel like they or Libby recognised that might be the best path to get away, because it leads straight down to the private drive where they could then run. That's just my sense. Run. Let's get down this really quick, steep, worn slope path and get out from here. Let's get to that private drive. It's not far. Now, what you notice here is that the phone clearly goes quite quickly, literally within 1 second, to here. It pans the whole of Abby's body like this. Now, that's not super quick. I'm not suggesting it's like ridiculously quick, but she just around that point, around it changing when BG says, guys, I mean, it could be that he shows a gun. It could be just the fact that he's interacting with them now. I feel as though the girls are worried and they're suspicious and concerned, but I feel potentially the reason they wait before they actually slide down that hill, they wait for him to get there, is maybe they're still just hoping he's not dangerous. Like maybe they haven't interacted with him at all. He just seems a bit creepy. But nothing, as we can see in the Bridge Guy video, nothing about his stance is particularly alarming, other than that he's kind of gaining on them. So it's creepy, but it's not enough perhaps for them to say, well, I'm definitely going to escape. They're just a bit like, this could just be nothing, but who knows? And I know I felt that before, when you're walking somewhere a bit secluded or isolated in the dark and someone's walking close and, your heart starts to pound and you start to get that adrenaline, and then you, I just got distracted by the chat. Sorry, guys. You get that shot of adrenaline, and then you get prepared if you're going to need to do something, and then the person just walks past, and you're like, okay, I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm going to do this. So I think that was the sense I got, as though it's a preparation just in case, but hoping for the best. So that's my take. Yeah, Dom, it's certainly a possibility, and I think there's so many different possibilities. It's so hard to tell. I definitely think a lot of people believe they were there to meet someone, and I know that can go hand in hand with the Anthony Schott stuff and Kegan Kline. I'm a bit dubious about some of that. Hey, Four Pits, nice to see you. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, it just doesn't sort of sit quite right for me. I still don't feel like they were, but potentially they were. I don't know if anyone saw my video earlier in the week talking about the fact that there's some sort of Snapchat series of photos or video probably sent at about 1:51. You can see it in the Knowledge C data, which now, makes me think, like, who was that to? Why have we not heard anything about that? But then again, this is a unified command, and we just don't seem to get anything particularly investigated. The other thing that I guess makes me second guess the whole Kegan Kline angle is the fact that there has been no actual proof of their communication with Kegan Kline. And that might be because that's part of the other investigation of Kegan Kline too. But from what I can gather, we don't have records of what was actually in the Snapchats. What we do have is just Knowledge C data. And from that data, we don't know who they're communicating with. We just know that they were communicating. So how has anyone proved that they were communicating with Anthony Shots? And if they did, again, if there was that evidence in 2017, then why did it take till, what was it, 2019, was it 2019 when they did the change of direction press conference? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you knew they were speaking to some unknown person, even if they didn't know it was Kegan Kline, but they did because they did a search on Kegan Kline for because they did think he was a possibility. But I feel as though they did that because other girls in the area mentioned him. But then they didn't act on it. I don't know. It's so confusing. Is Kegan Kline, has he been protected? What do you think, Kai? You're not sure? Okay. Has Kegan Kline been protected? He's not a catfish. He really is as handsome as he looks. Look at him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused with the whole Kegan Kline angle. I find it so confusing, and I'm dubious about Libby and Abby having communicated with Anthony Shots. I don't know the vibe I get around Libby, and I hate using the word vibe because people say that's unserious, but she had her wits about her. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't see anything alarming in the phone data other than, potentially that there was some snap stuff going on, which is not alarming in and of itself, but that we don't know who they were snapping. Because if there is indeed a video that they sent to somebody at 1:51 while they were on the trails, then surely if that's a friend or an innocent party, then wouldn't we know what that entails? But of course, there's still the possibility that that wasn't sent to anyone. It was just a deleted video, or who knows? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's a teenage girl, but I was a teenage girl once too, and I would not have done that. And I'm not saying it's because I'm like, cleverer than anyone else or anything. It's more just I was very much a rules based person. I was like, nope, we don't do that. And I was also very averse to fear. So yeah, I don't know. Like, do you think she would be? I mean, she just seems like a really switched on for her age, and I just wonder if she switched on for her age, would she see right through the Anthony Shots profile? I think she would. I mean, I remember back in the days when I was that age was the early days of the internet, and we had what was it? What was it called? I was it ICQ or something? I can't remember, but it was something like that. And I remember, chatting to random people. We didn't know anything about catfishes, and the internet was new. And I would definitely talk to all sort of random people and stuff. But even then, yeah, but like later on from then, is when we started to realize that so much other stuff has been going on. And what am I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying, guys. Sorry. It's like, I guess what I'm saying is that in this day and age, we know a lot more. And I'm not saying people don't still get scammed and catfished, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just reading the chat. Hi, Michael. Nice to see you. In Libby's phone found at the scene, the only mention of Anthony Shots' account is that he is recent Facebook friend. Could have been communicating by Facebook, different device. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I just been so confused. It's like, if that was some major thing in the case, I mean, yes, of course, I'm going to always agree with everyone. This investigation is ridiculous. You can't really believe very much because, everything is recorded over, lost, not done. But yeah, I just feel a little bit suspicious around that. Do you as well, Kai? Yeah, he's looking away. He's suspicious. Okay, I'm going to continue with my past me. Again, changes direction. Now, watch the next part though, because it goes further. It goes right out like that. Now, she doesn't change direction because you can see from the camera it's staying straight and it's looking at the path like that. Actually, wait a minute. So, if your phone was like this and the path is going this way, what angle is she holding it at? Actually, I think it's like, no, it's actually more like this, isn't it? Yeah. So she's basically, sorry, I just realized I'm off the camera again. It's like she goes across and like this. Now, what does that movement remind you of? To me, that's the movement of someone going, getting ready, embracing themselves to go down. So I think that's what's happening there. I think she's literally gone like that. Now, could that be her just lurching to action because he said go down the hill? But it's okay. So just to add to that point, if you stick around for the entire video today, I've done my silly walk of my own trails and actually tried this part out. And this is probably the one conclusion I could come to doing this on my own without anybody else helping me to do it. And that was that to get that sort of a kind of change in the image, it literally is like your arm going out and down. So yeah, it definitely is a sort of lurching forward movement that would lead to the phone angle looking like that. Also, for anyone new who's joining, I don't have a black eye. I keep saying that just because I know it looks like a black eye. This is my Halloween makeup. Oh, good night. Good night, Dom. Have a good sleep. I will see you soon. Happy Halloween. I want to see everybody's costumes. So, yeah, send us pictures. Anyway, back to this. Super quick, guys. It's not just, it's not even a second. So if someone's holding a gun to your head or gun in front of you and says go down the hill, it still takes a minute to register what that person has said. At least that's my perception. And I guess we can look at the research and we'll have a look into that too. But I think it would take more than a split second to think about it. So I believe that is their action to run. They're trying to run. They're trying to get down that hill agilely as quickly as they can and to that private drive. And why do they choose that rather than this path here? I wonder again if this just doesn't feel as accessible and it's further along the drive towards this other house, which yes, perhaps they could go to the Weber house, but I just feel like the private drive is super quick here. Again, we can look at the map and determine this, but let's just watch the last part again. I mean, they can clearly see that private drive up here. Obviously, they already probably knew it was there, but that seems fairly accessible, doesn't it? We can watch some videos as well, I suppose, of people going down the hill. I think it is pretty close, that private drive. I'm not sure if I mentioned in this because I don't really remember what I recorded a few days ago, but I did mention just earlier, I did watch Julie Melvin going down that hill, and that was in March 2017. And she said it was fairly easy then. She said it was quite a quick slide and drop down. Yeah, Abby definitely clenches her fist at that point. And, whether that's to do with seeing a weapon or not, I'm not sure, but she definitely seems like she's hanging her arms and then she clenches her fist. Okay, this is just so painstaking trying to see what happens here. I'm going to just make my screen a bit bigger. Oh, that wasn't very helpful. I tried to make the screen bigger and all I did was put other things in the way. Okay, so a few things to think about there. I think it definitely seems as though Libby has the phone in her sleeve. It seems as though, if this is the right way up the video, as though she's holding it around here, which would probably coincide with maybe her hair or her hood. And she, and that doesn't look particularly strange if you do that, even if you had one arm underneath it. And she's panned across like this behind her back. She's then gone. So this is the path that we go down. Either she's then pulled it out to pretend she's talking to it, or it's still covert, but she's scanning the path, which to me is that part of the slope that is worn down a little bit, which is possibly where other people go down as well. And she then stays in that position facing the private drive rather than facing back at Abby, and Abby runs past. The phone is still around this height sort of area. She then turns to Abby and says there's no path here, so we have to go down here, and again pans back towards that specific path. There's a couple of seconds in between where I wonder if there's some sort of exchange of nonverbal cues. Is there some lip motions or some actions that are hidden because she's facing away from Bridge Guy? And then they stand at the top of that spot. That's why they stand there, I think, because that's the quick exit point. And they wait to see if Bridge Guy really is as dangerous as they're feeling he is intuitively. And just as I was listening back to myself then, I just remembered it's like they're literally standing at the top of that particular area. So unless they'd planned with Bridge Guy that they were going down the hill together there, or someone that they were going down the hill together there, why else would they stand there? I really feel as though Libby is gesturing. That's why she says there's no path there, so we've got to go here. And Abby literally takes a couple of seconds to react to Libby saying that. It's a couple of seconds. And then she goes and joins her there. And Libby, like you said, Sarah, does feel like Libby kind of shields her a bit. See how Abby actually pauses when Libby suggests that, because she's probably like unsure what to do. But then she's been able to think to herself, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're in this together. This is what we're going to do. And they stand there together. And it's almost like he comes up and he does interact with them, and they're like, no, this guy is dangerous. Whether he has a gun, whether it's something menacing about him, whether he has a knife, who knows what he's doing. We know he does have a knife, but whether it's, revealed at that point. And I really feel like the girls then both move, not because he's saying go down the hill, but because they think they need to get down that hill. That's the only way away. They can't run back across the bridge. You can't run across that bridge. It's not going to feel safe. And for whatever reason, they don't run the other way. But that's the direction they feel is actually best, which to me does make sense. I've obviously never been there, so happy to be corrected. But looking at their video and Julie Melvin's video from the same time, from the same era, which is many years ago, so I think it'd be hard now to go there and know for sure it would be somewhat different. The soil could have eroded, there could be some different trees and things like that. I think that was their escape route. But I think, unfortunately, it didn't work. And within a few minutes, they have been caught by Bridge Guy. And I truly believe there probably was somebody else down there somewhere. They're not visible in the video, but I believe there's more than one offender involved. And I believe, potentially, I know we've seen that video of the private drive and the car going down there. I think there's somebody else waiting somewhere there. And they are apprehended by that person very quickly. And yeah, I think that it all goes very quickly from there. And the moment that they recognize that he is a threat, it definitely seems as though they get going so super quick that it can't possibly be that they're responding to his command, in my opinion. So now I am going to pause for a minute because I'm going to look this up and I'm going to come back. Give me a sec. Okay, so back with what the theory and data would say, and this is consistent with what I was thinking intuitively. So we know that studies show that many people momentarily freeze when faced with direct danger. Muscles stiffen, breath holds, movement pauses. Now, of course, the girls were already feeling that sense of danger probably for the previous 40 seconds or so, or maybe longer. But still, this is when the danger becomes, I believe, the most acute. So this is adaptive. The brain is assessing what's happening, what should I do before committing to action. And it seems as though they're doing that, right? They're sort of standing there for a few seconds. They don't just go straight down that hill. They wait it out. And I wonder if that's their uncertainty as to whether Bridge Guy really is as scary as they're intuition is telling them. I don't know that he's done anything scary up until then other than being behind them, but he doesn't look scary even as he follows them on the bridge, in the sense that he's not, we can't see any visible weapon. We can't see him running after them. It's almost a little bit unassuming, but clearly there was an energy that they got from him, a vibe, because we get those vibes. We know that other people who saw him or saw Bridge Guy that day, and I do assume this is the same Bridge Guy, clearly, felt that energy about him too. I mean, it is odd. He's following them. He's not smiling. He's not slowing down. He's just kind of following them. So there is that scariness to him, but it's not this really overt scariness of him running after them with a weapon. And I think that's meant that they're a little bit disoriented. They don't know what to think. Is he dangerous? Is he not? He's not clearly safe, but he's not clearly dangerous. And they pause. And then in that moment, when he starts talking to them, is when the real danger is acutely there. And that's when I think there would be that momentary freeze. So cognitive processing delay under threat. So we know what happens is this prefrontal cortex, the part of us that thinks and comprehends language and problem solves, temporarily shuts down or goes offline when we are flooded with fear. And this is another reason why I think they would freeze and take a minute to comprehend what he's saying. So it makes it harder to process verbal instructions, even simple ones. So we need extra seconds to decode what was said, act in a way that appears non-compliant or delayed, but are actually due to shock and disorientation. And again, so I don't know if anyone out there's heard about this, the idea of flipping the lid. It's kind of more in parenting. I think it's Dan Siegel. And basically the idea there is, well, Diana will know this, I'm sure, but the idea is that when we go into, like when the amygdala senses threat, we go into fight, flight, freeze, survival, right? And this frontal area of our brain actually shuts down. And so it's really hard to think clearly when we flipped that lid. And I mean, there's an analogy, and you use, your hands to do it. I'm not going to try and do that right now, but I should get Ash back on to do that. She's awesome with the kind of neurobiological and structural aspects of trauma. But yeah, essentially, this is why we can often not know what to do. When you watch the horror movies and people just do things where you're like, what were they thinking? Actually, those things can happen in real life, not because the person's, doesn't have the I'm always trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want to be screen grabbed out of context. But yeah, it's not because somebody doesn't have a clue. It's literally because we don't know how we're going to act when we're in the midst of a really high stress situation. And this is why I cannot tolerate it when people are like, I wouldn't do that. No, I would do that instead. Oh, hey, nice to see you, Kieran. And you don't know what you're going to do when you're in a situation. So the people who say, I would never confess to a crime that I didn't commit, I'm always like, are you sure? How do you know that? And the people who say, I would run if I were in that situation, they don't know that they would either. We just don't know. We know that we will either fight, run, freeze, right? Those we know because they are biological, instinctual responses. But which one will take? It's hard to know unless you've been in that situation. And even then, that can vary from day to day because some days we would be, our nervous system could be more activated. It could vary depending on the surroundings, yeah, I mean, I talked about that in the last video when we were talking about the trauma response, but it's so, so, so important. Yes, I agree, Diana. People do judge. And I think, and I said this in the last video, a lot of the time, the reason people judge is because we make these split second kind of, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word now. Heuristics. We have these rules. If somebody's chasing you, you run. If you are put in jail for a crime you didn't do, you don't confess. Heuristics, that's right. Whereas when you really sit down and you try to think, what would I really do in that situation? When I've been in similar situations, how have I reacted? You might find you get a different answer. And I think that we really need to do that, and it's hard. It's not easy to do because it takes, it takes connecting with your own emotions. It takes connecting with difficult experiences. Like I've said, whenever I have been reviewing the Bridge Guy video, the Knowledge C data, particularly of those last minutes of Abby and Libby's lives, like I can feel in my body right now grief and pain because you're having to take yourself into that space and imagine. When I think about how the families react, again, I feel as though I'm not as suspicious of family members because, again, sometimes families just want closure and they try to say to themselves, they got the right guy. I don't want to look too closely. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I've been on my soapbox and I've been ignoring chat. So apologies. I do think I saw there, I'm sorry, you were saying that the frontal lobe is still developing. Absolutely. That's developing in adolescence for sure. And which again is why I think Libby is exceptional in her forethought to covertly record a video. And we don't know fully what she was trying to do, but I truly believe she was trying to do something brave. She was trying to maybe record Bridge Guy, maybe record something that she could send to someone in case they got abducted, maybe to pretend she was talking to someone so that she looked like she wasn't vulnerable. I don't know, and I wish we did know, but whatever her reasoning, she was super brave and super, super intuitive and clever to do that because, goodness, as a full-grown woman who's lived over half her life, probably, I would not know what to do in that situation. I don't know how I would react. So for Libby to have done that, it's gonna make me cry. She really deserves to be seen. She really does. And I'm noticing more and more with this case. Initially, it was all about, Rick and law enforcement, but the more we talk about the Knowledge C data and now the Bridge Guy video as well, like I really keep bringing the focus back to Abby and Libby because, of course, we all know that they are center and they're central to this, but it's easy to get wrapped up in the other details. And I don't want them to be forgotten. I don't want Rick to be forgotten either because I do believe he's an innocent victim in this too. But yeah, I know a few people said things like, "Well, why are you looking at this? You won't really know what they did or what they meant." But I'm like, can't we? We need to try, right? No one can ever know anything unless we try to put ourselves. That's how we investigate. So yeah, I'm just reading the chat. Hey Jennifer, thanks for joining. He said, I'm still surprised on how really, no one had heard the girls yelling or asking for help. Jennifer, I think given what we see of the girls and their approach to being what I believe is scared and fearful, they're quiet. And I think for Abby, sorry, my light just went off over there. It's time to go to bed. For Abby, that is literally silence. She just barely says anything. And Libby, it's like she just takes that leadership. So yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I don't think that they yelled. And I guess anyone who knows my theory of the knowledge C data, it was literally 4 minutes, I believe, between when they were abducted and when they were by the creek. And that's far away and they're absolutely terrified. And anyway, definitely like makes me feel really sick. I'm feeling a lot of feelings right now, which is natural. And again, the girls deserve that. They deserve our grief. They deserve everybody's feelings and empathy. I'm mindful of the time and it's been an hour. I'm going to finish up this video, but we're not going to go on to my field studies videos today just because I have to work tomorrow. And you guys have also stuck with me for a while, so I really appreciate that. What I might do, I'm thinking I might upload the field study stuff for anyone who's interested and wants to watch it. It's kind of silly, a lot of it, like I said. But I'm hoping then to screenshot some of the different, I was going to say positions. That sounds like I'm saying something different, but you know what I mean. So I'm videoing myself walking around with the camera at different angles, and I'm going to screenshot different points with the angles on them, and then we can compare them to the bridge guy video. So I will maybe just put the raw video out to you guys to have a look at tomorrow, maybe. And yes, you will not see me in different positions. I don't mean it in that way. That is not the type of channel that we have here. Shibby tries to bring it down a notch or two, but no, we're not doing that. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll upload that on StreamYard. I'll pop it on as like to play while I'm at work, maybe. So if any of the mods are around, just in case we have any trolls, but we haven't really had any trolls. Well, at least not any trolls chatting. But yeah, I might put that up, and you guys are welcome to take screenshots and do comparisons to the bridge guy video. But I will do the same, and I'm definitely going to go back out. I'm going to try and get Ash to do this with me. We'll see if I can con her into doing it with me, because I really think we need 2 people to do this rather than 1. 2 people. Okay, my mind's gone in a silly place. Let's just finish this video. I'm only going by anecdotal experiences in movies here, but you hear the person going, open the door, and the person goes, what? And they're like, open the door, right? And I guess I'm trying to think of any experiences I've had. I mean, that's more of a sort of movie experience, but I can imagine that, being like, what? I think that's, my first impulse is usually to scream, to be honest, when I'm scared. So I'm more likely to scream and be shocked before I actually do anything, particularly when you're in a real fear situation. I think of like times where, one of my kids has been injured, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. It takes a minute to kick into action. So the fact that Abby is moving straight away, and Libby too, suggests, are both of them just really, really kind of measured and calm in this situation and just following the instruction? I know other people will say, well, that's because they plan to meet him there and go down there with him. I don't really subscribe to that. That doesn't explain why she's covertly recording. I feel that there are clear signs of fear, and we'll talk more about them in a minute. So we need extra seconds to decode. I already said that. So we experience auditory exclusion, partial hearing loss, or tunnel hearing, where they literally don't register part of speech. Time lag before behavioral response. In high-stress encounters, it can take several seconds to process and respond to a command. So like, particularly if it's ambiguous. So, and this is go down the hill. Which hill? Where exactly? Why do they assume he's telling them to go down the hill part that they were already going to go down? And I know people go, well, that's because it's planned. I don't think so. I don't think so, because it clearly wasn't planned, because Libby's saying to Abby, we can't go down here. We'll have to go down here. So again, I never 100% trust ChatGPT with its percentages, but let's just assume it's right. We'll fact check it later. If it's wrong, I'll let you guys know. It says in hostage simulations and police studies, roughly 50% of participants failed to comply immediately when given sudden commands under threat. They hesitated, froze, or asked for clarification. And that's what I had kind of imagined, you might do. You might be like, what do you mean? What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Right? If you had presence of mind, you might run, you might freeze completely, you might try and argue, like fight. It's the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response again. And I think the girls do take the flight response here. I think they'd already prepared to take that flight response. So the flight response isn't in response to the command to go down the hill. The flight response is the fact that they've had this simmering stress and danger around them, so they're already ready to act, but they're ready to act on their own plan of going down the hill, not the command, if that makes sense. Because if the command is what scared them and they suddenly realize this guy's scary, then we would have expected that pause. I hope that makes sense. So that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that they're not frozen in fear in that moment, because they've already kind of got their head around what they're going to do, because they've had a few seconds at least. They've had about, maybe 40 seconds by this point to process just how bad this situation could be. So when they get that final confirmation, they go, that's it, we're doing this. So yeah, I would say, I mean, look, it says freeze shock time frame would be about 0 to 5 seconds, cognitive delay 5 to 30 seconds, possible action 10 to 60 seconds. So we see it a lot quicker in this video than that. So let's watch the video in full now at normal speed and let's see what it looks like. I mean, obviously we all know what it looks like, but let's talk it through from normal speed. So again, we see the shaking it around, trying to get the right angle. And when we see it in full speed, we see that she doesn't really capture Abby in the frame for very long. And, you know, we see that she doesn't capture Bridge Guy in the frame for too long. Some people have asked, why does she not go back and try to record more of Bridge Guy? Because I think she's scared of the phone being seen. Now, this does look like the hood, doesn't it? It looks like the hood there. She's holding the phone out maybe a bit further at this point, but that's the hood. Maybe she's adjusting it in her sleeve, to be honest. Maybe it's not my theory of her deliberately trying to look like she's talking on screen time. Yeah, maybe that's why it's sort of more visible in that moment. And it's panning to the side. So it doesn't actually look like a phone up talking on FaceTime. It looks more like it's to the side, which is more consistent with her maybe adjusting it rather than, and maybe trying to talk into it, but not looking like she's actually making a phone call or FaceTime.
See, this is the path.
Now you notice she doesn't actually go straight directly ahead. She's looking to the left-hand side, which is where the downhill area is. Now, one of the reasons, again, as well, another reason I suppose that I think that the girls are scared is notice that Abby doesn't get to the end and go, hey, I did it, or I made it. And Libby doesn't go, yay, you got over the bridge, or let's get a picture. I believe this is the first time that Abby's meant to have crossed the bridge, but even if it isn't, you know, you would expect a bit of banter or small talk between them if they weren't scared. But instead, we see her run by. Yes, she's panting because she's running and it's cold and she's just crossed a really scary bridge and she might be a bit scared, but it would be a different type of scared, I suppose, to the scared that you're going to feel if you're being followed, because she clearly does whisper a few words when she's on the bridge. So she's clearly able to talk and comprehend what's kind of going on around her, in the sense of like, not comprehend, that's probably not the right word, but you know, she's clearly able to sort of have her wits about her to speak to Libby when she's on the bridge. But at this point she's run past and I think she's so scared that she can't even get a word out, or if she does, it's something, it's hard to tell if she says, oh God, or something like that, but she doesn't really, like they don't chat. They don't go, that guy's still following us, or he's a bit creepy, or should we really go with him, right? You don't hear any conversation between them. And so to me, given the acuity of the camera to pick up the whisper of Abby when she's on the bridge, you would think that it would pick up if there was more conversation between them. Of course, there's the gravel noise and things like that, so that might obscure it. But to me, that's not consistent with what you would expect of two girls who are there for a walk and they've got to the end of the bridge. They're in safety, essentially, from the bridge, and they're not talking, and they don't talk now for 20 seconds. When I say they don't talk, Libby does talk, but she gives that instruction to Abby. It's not a conversation.
There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
So notice there's that delay, that few second delay where she said, so we have to go down here, and you hear Abby still panting and they're standing still, both of them are. Libby doesn't turn, Abby doesn't move over there. This is where I think there's some sort of an interaction between them, explaining between them, I suppose, what they're going to do. And it definitely has this sort of sense that Libby kind of cushions Abby, like kind of brings her in to stand where she's ready, because Libby's had a bit more time to process and think about what's going to happen here, because she's already been on safe ground at the other side of the bridge for longer than Abby. So she's kind of, I think, the one kind of with the action plan here, and she's protecting Abby. So even if we don't think that the foot moves before he says the hill, it's still super, super quick, right? Now we see the phone has gone across like this, and I think it goes full out like this, because of the orientation. So I did it on the slower one to show you that. Let's go back to slow again. I can watch this so many times because it's just, you want to understand it. So I hope others don't mind that too. So I've got it on 50 this time. So we can see that at that point, the orientation of the phone is still up because we're getting that sort of straight angle in front. And then it's going like this. And then, still messed up. So then, given that the path is straight that way, and I really feel like the phone would have to be like that. I really want to practice. I really want to do this out in the wild, I suppose, so that we can see what it looks like. So I'm going to try and do that maybe over the next few days, if I can kind of get somebody to come and film this with me, so we can have the two people, because I think it would be really good to understand. But even without the second person, I can still show you, I guess, the orientation of the phone. Now, my camera's going to be slightly different, of course. I don't have the iPhone 6S, but I think it will still give us a good idea. If anyone's already done that, let me know too. So I guess to sum up, those girls to me are scared. They're covertly recording. Look at the way that the phone is panning around randomly. It's not a deliberate attempt to record a video. It's not an accident either, I don't believe. I think someone said maybe they were taking a photo and then they just accidentally took a video instead. And I mean, that's a good possibility. In a lot of cases, I don't think that's the case here, though. It doesn't explain the talking and the panning around and the covert nature of how she's holding it. I mean, let's say but she doesn't even get a good picture, even if she was thinking she's taking a picture. So I don't think it's that. I think the reason that the phone cuts off recording is because they're going down the hill, and I think her hand slips because we can see it flails out, and at that point she's possibly pressed stop on the video, or the phone's maybe dropped a little bit, or something's happened, because that is a steep slope. The fact that the girls don't talk normally to each other, I think, again, is another indicator that there is fear, that this is not a normal teenage interaction between two girls. And I hate to say normal, because, there is no such thing as normal, but I think what would be within the kind of general expectation of two girls, again, trying to put myself in their shoes, I'd be like, imagine I was really scared on that bridge. I'd be like, oh my God, I did it. Thank goodness. Oh my goodness. Or I'd probably even go up to my friend and hug them and be like, yes, I'm safe. Thank goodness. Why did you make me do that? Or something like that. There'd be more of that. And I think the friend potentially would be taking a picture. And if it's not her first time, then she wouldn't be potentially as scared. I'm not suggesting she would still be scared, but I don't know. It doesn't have that vibe of two friends recording each other. And I've had some amazing input of different people with different suggestions. I think another one was that this is a prank potentially, and that's why there's covert recording of Abby, because she's being pranked. But I just don't get that energy from it. I don't get the energy of laughter, of excitement, of it being funny. I know there's that sniff at the beginning where it's sort of, and it can kind of sound like a snicker, but I don't think that's what's happening here. And I think even if it were a prank, you'd still expect Abby to say something when she gets to the end. And who was this guy? If this guy is not someone to be worried about, why has he never come forward? And I know we could say, well, we didn't know Rick Allen had come forward till 2022. This could be something that's hidden, but this is a high-profile case. So if you were a bridge guy and you see an innocent man being convicted for the crime, wouldn't you come forward? I mean, I would. If he is a good Samaritan that was telling them not to go down the hill, that's the way they should go, and he was nobody in the crime, why did he never come forward? Why does nobody know who he is? Now, I'm going to end my pre-recording there. I'm going to do this live with you guys, so I will talk to you as we're looking through this, but enjoy. Bye. Okay, guys. So yeah, I hadn't planned to end there when I recorded that. I'd planned to keep going, but it took an hour and 15 minutes. That was ages. So sorry, I just adjusted my laptop. Get Kai back in there again. There he is. He's asleep. We've got Spooky Sleep beside me. Again, for all the newbies, this is my eye makeup from Halloween that's all smudged. It was a spider's web that I did myself. So proud of myself. Look at me. I really am a know-it-all. I even can do face makeup and painting. Like, goodness. Don't you all wish you were just like me? Screen grab that one, guys. Only joking. Yeah, so I did admit that there's one skill I don't have, and that is I can't read the map without turning it around. There are plenty of other things I'm not good at. Alex says, you can see mud on Abby's shoe in the photos, a small part. And Sarah says, the bottoms of Libby's jeans on Abby. I agree with both of you. I do. I have seen some of the sort of blurred out crime scene pictures, and yeah, I hate to see them, but yeah, I definitely think the lower part of her jeans are muddy, which would go with the approximate depth of the creek. Jennifer was there last Friday. I made a little video as soon as we turned where the girls came up. The vibes is just different. The energy makes your hair stand up. Oh, goodness, Jennifer. Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, it makes me feel so sick from here, from afar. So I can only imagine. Yeah. Jennifer, if you're anywhere near Delphi and you go back again, maybe you can see if you can recreate some of the camera angles. That's what we were kind of talking about earlier. It's like I would love it if somebody in Delphi were able to do that. But it sounds like a pretty scary place to visit. Queen of Swords, lovely to see you. You firmly believe the video is a purposeful distraction. Something's very off about it. Yeah, I don't know. I remember when I was initially looking at the knowledge C data, I was really like trying to figure that out too, like whether it got cut off, because it's so interesting, isn't it, that they said, oh, goodness. Sorry, I got some of my hair in my eyes. My hands are all green from my hair, green glittery hands. But I'm really losing my train of thinking today. Oh my goodness, guys. I'm sorry. What was I talking about? This is evening Amy without ADHD meds. I didn't take them today at all. So yeah, I think you can tell from the hyperactivity from my earlier live. What was I talking about? Let me go back up. Oh yes, Queen of Swords. I was talking about how in the early days they said that they couldn't release the rest of the video because it was the things nightmares are made of or something like that. Now, look, I mean, watching that video is incredibly sad and, definitely traumatic because we know what happened to them. But the video itself doesn't show anything, right? So, yeah. What do you think about the audio output route? I'm sorry, you can let me know. You know what my take is on that, that it's the audio processing of the video. But yeah, curious to know. Now, I need to get to the dog conversation because Yorkies are gorgeous. I used to have a Silky Terrier, which is Yorkie cross Australian Terrier, I believe. I love Silky Terriers. Just beautiful little dogs. And I love Yorkies because they look the same. They're just like a miniature version. And your sister has a dog named Daisy. Oh, and you probably all know that the channel is called Daisy after my beautiful dog Daisy, who's no longer with us. But it was your big sister, wasn't it? It was. What have we got here? Oh, Elizabeth, lovely to see you. Always so beautiful to see you. Chester, am I going to analyze Dr. Walla? Well, actually, I have part 3 of the psych panel, and we did talk a little bit about Dr. Walla. And I haven't edited it yet, and we haven't done part 4 because we're all disorganized and busy. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Dr. Walla and some of the ethics around the treatment of Rick Allen. Okay. I think that I should probably finish because I'm literally like zoning. Like I'm kind of, it's the chat. Like I love reading the chat, and it's so lovely that there's so many people in here and talking. And this time is, I know, a super inconvenient time for the States, and yet I have like some of the best chats at this time. So I really, really, really like seeing you guys. Yes, Elizabeth, it does take time to edit. Look, that's why I do just lives like this because, yeah, editing is so much harder. Yeah, I mean, I want to, I want to do like psychology videos and I want to edit them because, probably wouldn't use this format so much. But yeah, it's like a full-time job, isn't it, to do that? And editing us when we were doing the panel, where a lot of us were like, and there's lots of pauses, and I'm like, oh, clip that, clip that. Yeah, so I haven't had time to do that. And I haven't edited my kids' videos. They wanted me to edit for them. And I haven't edited Ash's video. She spoke at a conference recently. So yeah. Anyway, so good to see everybody. Hey, Digital. Oh, Digital. Sarah has the frames. So Sarah, are you okay if I shared those frames with Digital, or you can? Anyway, let me know, and I'm happy to share them with you, Digital, because we've got the frames. And Digital is a commenter of the week, month, the month, maybe. Always good comments, particularly when we're doing our funny satire. Oh, thanks, Sarah. Okay, well, yeah, Digital, I'm happy to share it with you. I'm not sure. Well, you've got my email on the channel, so email me and I will share the link and you can look at the frames because it's just super useful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for giving it to me too, because I'd have no clue how to do that myself. Now you can extract the frames of the positions of my video. Okay, I really have to go on that point because I'm being silly. Thank you, Queen of Swords. Thank you, everybody. I think Diana has fallen asleep. I haven't seen her for a bit. Thank you, Dee Dee and Carol, for being my mods, and Dee Dee for being my wonderful friend, and Carol as well. But Dee Dee, she listens to lots of walls of chat from me, so she gets a little bit of extra kudos there. Okay, guys, have a wonderful Halloween. If you're doing anything for Halloween, have a wonderful weekend. I will be back over the weekend, I'm sure. So, I never stop. And I'm sorry, no worries at all. It wasn't a novel. It was good. It's very refreshing to speak to people who are like-minded. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Kelly. It was lovely to chat with you again. Elizabeth, it's always lovely to see your beautiful profile picture and your beautiful presence in here. I'm going back through the chat. Oleg, it was lovely to see you. Chester, so good to see you. Michael, thank you for joining us and giving us some of your knowledge and your time too. Going back earlier. Barbara, it was lovely to see you too. Gosh, I always hate doing this because what if I miss somebody? I never want anyone to feel like I'm forgetting them. Erin, it was lovely to see you. I know you don't agree with my take on this, but we do still share a lot of love. So lovely to see you. Dom was here earlier, but he left. But always good to see him in the chat. Yeah, did I say hello to everybody? If I missed you, please don't think that I don't care. I am so appreciative. Like, I don't even understand how so many people actually follow me and listen to me talk. I'm actually really shocked. And everybody who follows me knows I love Louis Tomlinson. And his album is coming out next year in January. I'm now plugging. I'm not sponsored by Louis. I wish I were. And it's called How Did I Get Here? And like his albums are like always the story of my life. His and Delta Good Room, like they're my two. It's like soul connected people. Because it's like, yeah, how did I get here? How did I get 400 and 20-something people actually listening to me. I don't even know, but I'm so appreciative of each and every one of you who engages with me. And if you have different ideas or beliefs, everything's welcome as long as you're kind and respectful. So on that tone policing point, good night, everyone. Love you. And Kai says bye too. Bye. Bye. So I woke him up to say bye. Oh, Spooky wants to say bye too. Oh no, he just wants to go back to sleep. Okay, see you guys. Oh, thanks, Oleg. I'm glad. Love you. Bye.